Good morning, YouTube. How's everyone doing? It's a pretty fine day. I think it's around 24 degrees. At least it was down below. Man, this is such a nice day for a nice relaxed ride on a beautiful forest road like this. That's what I was in the mood for. Wow, what an awesome view. I keep saying that, don't I, on my videos? But I never tire of it. I live in a nice area. So, on to the subject of the video. As you might know by previous videos, if you've been watching, I have not been happy with some of the sounds this bike makes. And I was getting a lot of chattering and tapping noise, that type of thing. And it seemed that's all I was hearing. So I made a little modification to the stock exhaust, and there's a video on that. I'll put a link to it up on the top right corner here. And since I've done that, yeah, it's improved. And, you know, in other words, I had another sound to hear, a more pleasant sound. I could actually hear the exhaust a little bit. Didn't make a big difference, but a little. I also noticed that it gave a little bit more pickup, a little bit more power. And since then, the chattering noise has diminished quite a bit. Like, not just because I can't hear it as much, but because it has actually diminished. I don't know what changed. You know, maybe something just wore in or something, I don't know. I mean, I've got almost 6,000 kilometers on it now, so it's well broken in. However, be that as it may, it changed, and it's now smoother in sound. So I like that. Anyway, yesterday on my last video on whether or not I wanted to supermoto this bike, one of the commenters suggested, hey, why don't you pull the Snorkel out of the airbox for a little bit more pickup and some induction noise. So I thought I'd try it. That's what I did this morning. I pulled the Snorkel, and I kind of had my doubts that I would get much sound out of that, let alone performance. However, I was wrong. I don't know whether you can hear it, but when I throttle on, can you hear it? Anyway, I can quite a bit. So when you give it some juice, it definitely has a nice low induction growl, which is kind of a nice bonus. I like that. But apart from that, I also notice what he said about the added pickup. Now, I made sure that I wasn't going to have a placebo effect here, so I went into it pretty skeptical. However, I have noticed a definite, not a place for a boat. I have noticed a definite increase in acceleration, better instant response. So I guess somewhere here, there's going to be a line at which there's a risk of creating too lean of a condition with the little bit less back pressure on the exhaust from my mod. that you can check out in that video, and the pulled snorkel. So the pulled snorkel is increasing the available air to the air box because you don't have the thickness of the snorkel, taking up part of the hole that the air gets sucked through in. So it definitely is able to pull more air. So anyway, I'll keep an eye on it. If I feel that it's running a bit lean, I'll maybe go for the 550 ECU for the stock bike, or maybe discuss it with them and see what would be best, just to add a little fuel and such. And a little extra fuel would perhaps lessen the bike's heat, because this bike does heat up quite a lot on the right hand side for your right leg, your knee. So I'll keep an eye on it. I don't think it'll run too lean. I don't think it'll be excessive or anything. It's not such a drastic change that I've made, but I will be careful. But yeah, I find the bike is running much better than before. I mean, it ran good before, but the noise is much better from the engine, and I can now hear more pleasant noises from the exhaust. So I'm happy. Yeah, so this is a pretty fine bike, I'll tell you, the CRF300L. The one thing that I'm going to do, and I mentioned it before that I was going to, and I actually had it on order, is a new shock. However, I canceled that order due to mega delays and such. And, but I have decided that definitely I am going to sort the suspension. I don't know quite how I'm going to do that, but it'll either be a new shock or reworking this stock shock, as in new spring, and maybe, I don't know whether the valving in the shock can be altered to increase the damping, but I will find out. I'll take it to a suspension specialist and we'll see what they have to say. And if it's kind of doesn't seem feasible to improve it much that way, then I'll bite the bullet and get a new shock. And the other thing I can tell you that I've decided is, I did a video on whether I wanted to supermoto the bike. Maybe I'll put a link to that video up there in the top right. And I've decided that I won't. And instead, what I'll do is, like I say, sort the suspension out, and I will put maybe different tires on it. Tires that are a little bit more streetable, something like the Shinko 705s. I know that would improve the handling of the bike on the street, both the suspension and those tires. And I think that those tires would be okay for stuff like this. Like, this is not serious. This is not off-road. Though I do go off-road, but when I do, it is mainly on hard pack, rocky type surface. I'm not a fan of mud or sand, so I kind of stay clear of that. Well, I say I stay clear of it, but that's actually not true. I find myself in it. But I'll put up with it. Put it that way. Anyway, I think that's about it for one video, so if you have any thoughts or comments, please share them down below. Otherwise, you take care, ride safe. Thanks for joining me on this ride, and I will see you on another.